how you get the requirements of the users.
Nobody is looking for a product. Nobody is looking for any service. Everybody is looking for a solution. A consumer 8 or 10 years before, price was his only discussion.
We have to look ahead 3 years, 5 years down the line. What will happen? What will be the customer's expectations?
How do you understand the user's mentality for next 5 years?
You have to be where the customer is. They are the best guys to tell you what is to do, what you have to do, when you have to do.
What was the most challenging time in your business?
So the challenges today are very different, I would say.
Everything is now global. Anything happening any part of the world is going to affect us as a company, and that I feel is the biggest challenge.
If you have US which is posting such high tariffs on China, India becomes a very big market for Chinese goods to be done. It's a big threat if they start dumping goods. How do you protect yourself?
What are the key factors if a person goes to buy a chair? What he should see?
So there are very few things that you should look. First thing is,
this is something that small and medium-sized enterprises have to understand. You start with a lot of things, then you eliminate what you don't want to do, and you find that one area where you want to be the best at, and then pursue that.
So that focus gives you clarity and helps to grow the business.
Hello everyone, welcome to our YouTube channel, The Plastic Pulse by Veekay. In today's episode, we have esteemed guest, partners from the Fab Chair, Kalyan Dixit and Ganesham Patil. I welcome you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So, before starting, would you please introduce yourself?
Yeah, so my name is Kalyan Dixit, and I'm one of the partners of Fab Chair, and I have a career of almost more than 25 years now, and we specialize in office revolving chair components, which are made out of sheet metal or plastic. So that is my brief introduction.
Hi, I am Ganesham Patil. I am also one of the partners at Fab Chair. Basically, my journey initially was into employment, but both of us, me and Kalyan, are college friends. And then at some point of time, we discussed that we need to do something together. And that's how Fab Chair was started in 2013. It's actually a legacy business of Kalyan and his father. So this is the second generation that we are working on. And right now, we have almost 3 plants in Pune. One of them is dedicated for plastic injection molding. 2 of them work on sheet metal parts, and that's
So, Kalyan and Ganesham sir, your company is 50 years old.
So it's a legacy business. You are into furniture market. So these products are you developed on your own. So could you please tell us your journey of developing new parts in furnitures?
So this journey started in 1973 when my father decided to get into business. He was working with Tata Motors, that time Telco, but he decided he wanted to do business. So he obviously started with automobile components. We were tier 1 suppliers to Tata Motors, Bajaj Auto and all these companies. But automobile is a very cyclical business. There are upturns and downturns. When there is a downturn, these big companies survive, but small companies really get through a lot of problems. So in 1990, there was a heavy recession, and that was the time when my father decided to diversify into furniture industry. And since we were working on sheet metal and tubular components, we decided to start manufacturing revolving chair components, which were made out of sheet metal and tubular tubes. So we started with chair mechanism. So the mechanism is something that you have behind your seat. That is the component which helps you to recline the chair as well as move the chair upward and downward.
Yeah.
So that is the mechanism. Initially, we started with customer designs, like customer used to, like in the automobile industry. But later on, my father, and by that time I had joined, so we visited exhibitions in Germany, China, and we found out that this is an industry where we can develop a product which we can supply to multiple customers. Unlike automobile industry, in automobile, if you are making a component for Tata Motors, you have to supply it only to Tata Motors.
Right.
Component of Tata Motors cannot be supplied to Mahindra. And that is where the small industry gets stuck with the customer. In furniture, we decided we want to change this and we want to make a product which we can sell to multiple customers. And that is how we started. We developed a few mechanisms. There are different types of mechanisms: pushback, center tilt, synchro. And these were products of Fab Chair, which we were able to supply to multiple customers. And that really changed the game. Dependency on customers was reduced, and that was a game changer.
So now your major product is still the chair mechanism.
So this was a transition, I would say, over 20 years of time from automobile to furniture. So from 1990 to 2010, this transition started. That was a period when we were making automobile components as well as furniture components.
Okay.
But we found out that for our size of company, furniture industry will suit us better. And we slowly shifted from automobile to furniture. Today we are 100% into furniture industry. And once we decided that we wanted to be in furniture industry, we focused on chair components, and we found out that the chair components are also getting converted from metal to plastic, because in many industries this is happening. Many metal components are getting converted into plastic components. So since we had decided that we want to remain in chair components, what we thought was, if the chair components are getting converted from metal to plastic, we have to get into plastic manufacturing. And that was the time when we decided to start manufacturing plastic components, and that was the birth of Fab Chair. Earlier it was my father's business, but with plastic I became the entrepreneur, because my father said, I don't want to get into something new, because he was aging at that time. So we decided to let us get into plastic injection molding. And that is when Ghanshyam and myself, we got together and formed Fab Chair. So Fab Chair was formed basically to manufacture plastic molded components, revolving chair components. So that is why Fab Chair came into picture.
So about Fab Chair. So now you are manufacturing in Fab Chair what kind of plastic products?
So although we are into plastic molding, we don't consider plastic molding as a process. We are more focused on products. So plastic molding is a process that helps us to make the product that we want to make.
Right.
And the products are the components required in a revolving chair. So in a typical revolving chair, you will find 4 main plastic components. One is the back that you have. Then there are armrests which you keep your hand on. Then there is a seat cover which covers the aesthetic. It's an aesthetic component. 4th component is the base. 5-prong base is there. And the 5th component is the caster, that is the wheel. So these 5 are the main chair components, and we manufacture all of them.
Okay. So total chair components you are manufacturing. So in future you can also manufacture chairs.
So that is one more thing that needs clarification. See, these components we are supplying to chair manufacturers. Okay. So it's a understanding that we have with our customers that we will never get into chair manufacturing, because it's means I will be competing with my customers.
Exactly.
And that will not serve purpose for either for me or for my customer. So it's a understanding that we have with our customer, clear understanding that although we are making almost all the components in a chair, we will never be making the complete chair.
Yeah. Okay. And how you build this product line? So you have your own R&D. in-house?
We have a product development team. So around 4 to 5 engineers are working in product development. So it's done on both ways. Like there are RFQs which we get from our customers that they want to develop a specific component. Now in that case, it becomes an exclusive design which is for that particular customer. Once I get the design from the customer, I have to submit a proposal for the tool cost, mold cost, as well as component costs. There will be a round of negotiation, and then that component gets developed specifically for that customer. Most of the times, the customer will invest in this process for tooling, development, and everything. Customer will invest, so the tool will be property of that customer. I will be only manufacturing that component, and I'm bound to sell that component only to that customer. So this is a fairly straightforward process. The other thing is we develop component which is a facture product. Now this is a bit difficult. First thing is you have to decide which product you want to develop.
Why I'm asking this? Because you're into user field, means your product is attached to the user directly. So and towards the comfort mainly. So what the steps, what is the process of your R&D, that how you get the requirements of the users?
See, we will not.
I'll add to this.
Yeah,
okay,
sure.
so you look at this in a way. Okay, there is an evolution in this industry. Okay, so if you see any industry, the initial businesses were like OE services. So we used to do an OE service for a particular some other brand or a manufacturer. Okay, this then evolved into our own products. And now what happens is that it's not just product, it's a solution that has to be provided to a customer. Correct. Nobody is looking for a product. Nobody is looking for any service. Everybody is looking for a solution.
Right.
Okay, so primarily that has to be the starting point. Okay, whether we design the product, whether it's a customer design, that is a secondary part of this. So what happened over a period, like I said, we cut down on a lot of activities that we used to do, and we ended up focusing only on revolving chair.
Right.
And the reason being that it started giving us the ability to understand how every part is used, how it's designed, what's the function. Okay, and we can now actually say whether this will work, this does not work, this suits the function, this does not suit the function. Correct. So
Right.
these are inherent, knowledge or our ability to understand. So which a standard, maybe a molder will never ever be able to understand how, what are the intricacies of designing the part, of molding the part. So this is where we get into that. So when you say how you design a product, so primarily it is a solution that we are trying to give to our customer. So for example, if you look at a chair base, okay. Now the chair base typically is made from nylon. It's available, also it can be made from aluminum, die casting, and it can also be made from sheet metal or traditional MS. Okay. So initially everyone used to do this independently. So they would never ever take into consideration that it is interchangeable. Correct. So now what happens is that all these three designs are done with the same aesthetics or the same functional requirement. So the user or the chair manufacturer can replace either a nylon base with a aluminum base, with a metal base, based on what he's proposing to his end customer, the price point at which he's, but his chair doesn't change. So
Right.
the functional requirements don't change, the height of the chairs don't change, the stability, there is so much more to a chair when it is being designed. And all of those are taken care of by us when we provide this solution.
Right.
Okay, so what we are trying to do is that. The second part that we are trying to do is bring better products into the Indian market. So India is a very price sensitive market. I mean, we can't escape that part of our life. but it's growing. Okay, if you see a consumer maybe 8 or 10 years before, price was his only discussion.
Right.
Today, he talks about brand, he talks about comfort, he'll talk about guarantees, warranties, and everything. He'll start discussing about that. And in this evolution, what has to happen is that newer product technologies have to come on board, correct? And that is where we then focus on. So how we decide is we look at what probably our customers today will require in the next 3 years or 5 years. Okay, and that is what we start working on. Okay, find those avenues to improve our products, find what's happening globally, what are the trends, and then start working on these and develop products which probably will help us lead to that ultimate goal. Yeah. So that's the process.
So if you compare it with, say, automobile is a very easy example, everybody understands.
Right.
So if you see right now, the maximum selling category is the premium SUVs.
Yeah.
Okay, so what you can make out of it is Indian customers want premium products with features. They want more features. So and they are ready to pay for it. So something similar we find happening in furniture industry also. Especially during Corona, people were working from home, and in the initial 2-3 months, they understood that sitting on a sofa, sitting on a bed is not good for the posture, for ergonomics. So everybody started feeling back pains, neck pains and everything. And then that was the time when work from home category really picked up. So even during Corona, we survived pretty well because of this work from home demand for chairs.
Right.
Yeah. And since the chair was bought in a home, it was not looked as an expenditure, but as an investment. And the person wanted a good chair, good ergonomic chair,
right,
which will give good lumbar support, neck support and everything. And for my example itself, my wife is a working woman. So I bought a chair of 25,000 rupees for her. And we observe that many work from home chairs are not 2,000, 3,000 rupees chair. People are ready to buy good chairs with good features, which they are buying for their home. And now since after Corona, since these people are going back to their office, they are demanding to their management that we want similar good quality chairs. So overall requirement of a chair is increasing, customer expectations are increasing, expected features from the chair components are increasing, and accordingly we are developing products which will cater to these demands. So like Ghanshyam said, we have to look ahead 3 years, 5 years down the line, what will happen, what will be the customer's expectations, and we have to develop products accordingly.
Right. But how do you understand the user's mentality for next 5 years? Because it is changing always. And how do you think that, yes, now the user has to get this type of features in the chair, or this type of design will work much better, will give more comfort?
See, I think the domestic market, the domestic Indian market is still significantly behind the global markets. Okay, so what happens is that in furniture or in revolving chair, it is a little bit easier because if you go to any of these exhibitions, you get to know what is state of the art. Correct?
Right.
Now, because it is at a certain price point, which does not make economic sense in India, those products don't flow into the market so easily.
Right.
Correct? But we start to understand where the development trends are, where it is heading. Okay, so there is definitely at some point of time over the period, there is an inflection point where the price points start making sense. When if you see very early on, I remember when we were studying, the chairs used to be wooden chairs. I mean, the 4-post wooden chair is to be a standard chair. You go anywhere in any office, any college, that is to be a standard wooden chair. Then you started getting those revolving chairs, but then there used to be the cane, sewn chairs used to be there, which used to offer the basic, you could swivel. And up-down was still a tricky business in that. They used to have the screw mechanisms and all. Correct. Then you had the gas lift come on board. Then you could, with the knob, you could do up-down. Then you started getting locking. So this is always an evolution. So it, like I said, it's the same thing. So you get to understand the customer may not be from the furniture industry direct, but from the associated industries like automobile or, what is happening in the market, where the price point is, the general propensity to spend increasing or not. And the second part then happens is that though we do our products, we have a very large OE business as well. And what happens is that those projects are also forward looking. So we get some sense of what our customers are also seeing in the market, how they are developing the products, where they are going ahead. So that is how then we start assimilating those data points. And to a certain extent, you cannot avoid basic research. You have to go and talk. You have to be where the customer is. You have to be with them. Okay, they are the best guys to tell you what is to do, what you have to do, when you have to do. Okay, mixing all these three is where really you can get some idea of what is going to happen. Correct.
Correct. So now about your journey, what was the most challenging time for you in your business, in Fapture or?
So I think it is very difficult to say that this one point was the most challenging point. What I think is that once you accomplish something, you get a new set of challenges and put in front of you. I mean, like if you see in today's instance, nobody would have thought tariff would become such a big discussion and such a big, point of consideration. But now it is like the most important thing that is going to happen, and
in
that
furniture industry.
I think most of but for us it becomes even more critical is because what we foresee is that if you have US which is posting such high tariffs on China, then there are two repercussions to this. One, India definitely becomes a viable option to manufacture as an alternative to China. The second is that India becomes a very big market for Chinese goods to be dumped. So you have to, so the same event will pose two different consequences. Okay, and our challenge then is how do we respond to this event? And what makes it even more difficult is the uncertainty around it, whether the tariffs are going to remain forever or it's a short-term, event, correct? Because investments in India cannot be done in the jiffy, or even solutions cannot be developed in such a short time.
Right.
They take their own time to get ready. And will it be a case where you start working on a solution and by the time it is ready, the market has again moved somewhere else. Right. Yeah, and then your investment is at risk at this point of time. So, so the challenges today are very different, I would say. They cannot be categorized as one single event. What I think more is our ability to respond to such emerging challenges. Okay, meaning when we started Fapture, we started with the premise that our competition is China, our competition, not domestic, because that's how we wanted to peg ourselves. So we wanted to work at their scale, we wanted to work at their cost, we wanted to work with the technologies that they were working on, okay, so that we can compete with them. Whether for the domestic market or international is a secondary issue, but our focus was that. Okay, and even today we see that it still remains a big hurdle for us. How do we respond to them? But that's how we are tuning ourselves. That's how we mentally prepare ourselves. That no, this is what we have to make it happen, and then find a way in the domestic context how we can reach that point.
So actually, we were talking earlier about the China market. Tariff on China will affect Indian market in a very negative way.
Yeah, because what happened is that, so there are two parts. So if you see the furniture market, predominantly maybe 10 years back or maybe even as recent as before COVID, okay, majority of furniture used to be imported into India. Majority of the furniture components were also imported into India. COVID put a bit of a spanner in this works, because then people started realizing that domestic supply chain is as much critical as a global supply chain. And then you had a lot of demand shift into domestic market. Now, but that didn't mean that the international supply chain was dismantled. It still remains in place. And now what will happen is that once you have the US demand slowing down, Chinese guys very likely are going to find new markets for their products or the capacity that they have. And I don't see right now any other market than India which has a size or which has a scale that can absorb that kind of a capacity. Correct? So it's a big threat in the sense that if they start dumping goods, okay, how do you protect yourself in this volatile market? And the second part to this was, like I said, a couple of days before, you had Government of India implement another, safeguard duty on steel raw material. But by imposing safeguard duty on raw material, you make the finished good cheaper.
Finished good costlier.
No, imported finished goods cheaper to import. Okay, the domestic finished goods price will go up. But the imported finished goods will become cheaper to import. Correct. So what happens is that this is the big uncertainty that exists.
Right.
Okay, and responding to these kind of uncertainties, yes, to a certain extent we have to take appropriate action, but we alone cannot fight on this. There has to be a concerted effort with the industry. There have to be representations made to the government to understand that how this is going to impact the manufacturers, especially because
SME sector.
Yeah, because manufacturing is not something that you can set up in a day or wind up in a day. There are consequences to all of this operations. And but this is where, if you see the big challenge or the big current.
So what I feel is that for the past many years, the challenges that we faced, we could overcome those challenges, and maybe the real challenge is in the future is ahead of us. Where everything is now global. Anything happening any part of the world is going to affect us as a company, and that I feel is the biggest challenge. And in this volatile scenario, you have to not only survive but to thrive. So how you can do that? That is a real challenge.
As a fab chair, after 50 years of legacy, what's your next vision about this company and about your products?
So the way the entire global political situation is right now, what we feel is that India has a very bright future because of our Prime Minister Modi. Relations with almost all the countries is very good. So we don't have problems with most of the countries. They are looking at India as a alternative manufacturing hub. The government is very much keen for Make in India. They want to promote Indian manufacturing. They want to increase exports. So we see that the entire situation is very much conducive. So now the real challenge is how we actually encash this opportunity. We find a lot of inquiries will come from global customers, not only India, but global customers. So how we respond to that, how we gear up, how we expand very rapidly is the real challenge. But we see that the future is bright and we must work towards it. That is what we feel. And to give a perspective about furniture industry, when I started, like my father, we diversified in 1990. Furniture was not looked up as an industry in those days. Somebody in the corner will somehow fabricate something and it will be treated as a furniture. That was the situation.
At that time, steel furniture was not furniture.
So, what my father was doing at that time, he was looked down upon. Like from automobile, you are going into furniture. So, you are downgrading. It was considered like that. But today, if you see, most of the international brands are in India. They are looking towards India. They are finding that India is the only big economy which is growing. So, furniture is really now getting considered as an industry. Even the government is considering furniture as which it will be a big contributor to the national GDP. So, furniture industry, what we think has a bright future in India.
Okay. So while we are getting new opportunities, as you are saying, from overseas. So in overseas, there is morely about sustainability and eco-friendly processes. So how do you actually on the website also you are mentioning you are following the sustainable and eco-friendly processes. So how you are building yourself into that capability?
So there are, if you look at furniture, typically the core part or the real advantage of being in furniture is that these are very large parts. Okay, so what that does is that it gives you the ability to, at the design stage or at the initial stage, to design them first using reprocessed materials. Okay. These are very big consumers of these reprocessed materials. So, the part weight is significantly large. So, you can consume a lot of reprocessed material, which is not viable in a lot of other industries. So, that is one part. The second part is that, the second part is that the end of life of this product. So, this is a durable, this is not a one-time use product purpose. So, a chair that is once done, it has a shelf life which can go, some of these chairs are like warranted up to 12 years for usage, correct? So, it's a very long period that you are basically using this parts. And that is what is a part of, so use reprocessed material, ensure that the material that you make can be used for a very long time. And the third part, at the end of the life cycle, you are able to reprocess it back into, again, rather than downcycling. So basically, which happens with most of the plastic part, that you cannot reuse it for the same application. This is one place where, because of the compounding technologies that are there, you can same cycle the part, not necessarily down cycle, but same cycle in the same component. So a star base can primarily be again broken down, recycled, reprocessed into the basic raw material that it can again be molded into a star base.
Right.
This is what the big offering or the advantage of what we are doing. The real challenges in this are really, about compounding. So it's about ensuring the sanctity of the material across the complete chain.
Right.
This is the big start. So what we focus on is that ensuring the material that we are using is the material that is being declared, that is being provided. And secondly, most ensuring that we offer our customers solutions with reprocessed materials. So whether it is their functional requirements, whether it is their design or aesthetic requirements, how do you ensure that these materials work to that particular requirement? So that is how we are ensuring on the material side. The second part to this is the processing part. So processing is where we are working. So it's whether it is consumption of water for the process, whether it is consumption of electricity that we are doing. So we are working on right now ensuring that most of our electricity consumption comes through renewable energy. So whether it's open access solar power plants, to ensure that. Same with the case with water. So water recycling rainwater. So of course we don't have the storage capacity to ensure that we can have water throughout the year, but creating soak pits within the factory premises to ensure that water is drained into those soak pits and you are able to do. So these are the activities that we then focus on. Right. So they may have a smaller impact, but that matters. So,
that matters in long term.
In the long term. So that's how we ensure. So one thing that when you talked about how we develop or what are the challenges now. So we focused on revolving office chair as a product. Okay, it has two parts to it. So one is that this focus gives us advantages in terms of understanding product, understanding where it is headed, and building solutions to that particular direction. Correct. Usually you would also have an argument that because you are focused, you basically blinded to opportunities that are on the other side. And this, I think, is something that at least both of us feel that is not the way. Okay, what happens is that when you focus, so even in the context of challenges that emerge, why we are confident about what we do is because we can predict or we can see the future in this industry.
Right.
Okay, and you can only do that if you focus. Okay, if you are diversified in too many industries, your process may be the same, but if you are a general molding operator who is focused on FMCG, who can do white goods, who can do automobile, who can do furniture and XYZ, okay, you will never understand the dynamics of each industry.
Right.
It is practically impossible for you to place yourself in the position that you are ready for the future in that particular industry, or you are able to understand the challenges that are emerging in each of those sectors, and then appropriately start placing yourself in an advantageous position. So I think this is something that probably small and medium-sized enterprises have to understand. You start with a lot of things, then you eliminate what you don't want to do, and you find that one area where you want to be the best at, and then pursue that. Okay, that I think is something that has happened. Like he said, from automobile, when we entered into furniture, I think we
lot
should
of
do
things.
everything.
Even in furniture, we used to do too many things like education furniture, home furniture, hospital furniture, office furniture. So too many things we used to do. So over the years, we have cut down most of the product lines, and now we are concentrating
on only
on
chairs,
revolving
chairs.
components. Yeah. So that focus gives you clarity.
Yes.
And helps to grow the business.
Right.
That is our experience.
Yeah. Right. And I think we are largely influenced by the way, again, Chinese companies. So you go to any company, there is one product done in one probably city. Okay, and even when you go to a factory, those guys will probably do only one part of a product.
Right.
Okay, but they will do it at a scale at which nobody else can match. So that is how we have to train ourselves.
Right.
If you want to compete with them, it cannot be generic strategy. You need to have very strong focused. Yeah.
One more point I would like to add here is, so although as a partners, both of us are sitting here, we're representing FabChair, but I will not forget my team who is working behind me. So almost now, if you put together, almost 120 or 130 people are working, and many of them are working since my father's time. So without a very strong team,
Can't do that.
Only two of us are not will not be able to take FabChair to the next level. So I will take this opportunity to appreciate my team who works tirelessly and who are instrumental in getting FabChair to this level. And I'm confident that with their support, we will march even ahead.
Yes. Before signing off, I would like to know what are the key factors if a person goes to buy a chair, what he should see.
So in a chair, there is a science called ergonomics. Now most of them know what is ergonomics. So there are very few things that you should look. I will not make it very complicated. First thing is chair height should be adjustable.
Okay.
That is one thing. Second thing is your back should get a good lumbar support. When you sit in a upright position, lower back should have a lumbar support. Third thing is when you rest your arms, they should be in the 90 degrees and you should be able to rest your arms. Ideally, the back should give you a support up to your shoulder level. So your back should be supported. And if in addition, you can have a headrest. Normally chairs with headrest are a little bit pricey. But if you have a headrest, that will be even better. So these are very basic features. Now there are a couple of more features. One is seat sliding. So if in a house, husband and wife both are using the chair where there is a height difference, then you can have a seat sliding function where if you slide the seat forwards, if the husband's height is more, his legs will get full support. So that seat sliding function you can have.
Oh.
And now and the armrest can be adjustable up and down. So these are some additional features. But the 2-3 features what I earlier suggested, those are basic. If you have them, probably your chair will be ergonomic and you should not face any problems.
Okay. Before signing off, any special message for the industry?
More than industry, I would like to say something about Veekay Polymers. So Veekay Polymers has been our supplier for a very long time, and this has been a very good association. So what basically at FabChair we really value is the relationship. Business is not about money. That is what my father has taught me. It's about relationship that you create on the way. So Veekay has been such very valuable relation that we really cherish. So I would like to thank you for inviting me on this podcast.
Thank you. Thank you, Kalyan sir. Thank you, Gandhasham sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.